All right, so welcome to council. First item would be adoption of the agenda.
Move.
All those in favor? And just before we start, I just want to have us bow our heads just in remembrance of former Parks Director Bruce Hellender, unfortunately passed away last week. So a moment to reflect on his contributions to the community. He was living in Victoria at the time he was passing. All right, thank you. Just for those who don't know, Bruce worked for the town for quite a few years and was one of the key driving forces behind the Highland playing fields, which are, of course, enjoyed by all now. So we certainly pass on our condolences to his family. We have a number of delegations this evening. First off is John Watson from the Economic Development Society to speak to us about the strategic plan. John, welcome.
Thanks. And Brent and Jeff and Larry are going to come up and just be up to see a couple of the slides as well.
Okay.
So that everybody on council knows who they are, what they do, and when they do it, and how they do it, and everything else. So thanks very much. We were here a few weeks ago, or meetings ago, or maybe a month or so now ago, to just quickly update on progress on our partnership with the BIA and with regards to some work and applications regarding destination marketing. Today we are here, and you should have been provided with a fourth quarter report from 2015, our 2016 strategic plan, and a bit of a highlight document, one-page highlight document for the first quarter 2016. Quarterly reporting is set out as the way which we are to report to council. And so these documents are part of that process. And it provides the opportunity for some Q&A while we're here, as well as follow-up individually by council or staff on any particular project moving towards the next quarter. So I can press anywhere.
Or not.
Or not.
There we go.
There we go. So just a quick overview and to refresh everybody's minds around what we're doing on behalf of the town as part of the economic development tourism. Essentially three bucket areas, if you will. Small business support that supports our critical part of our programming, providing startup support, entrepreneur support via one-on-one sessions with companies, site visits, workshops, training seminars. Subjects often focus around export development, dealing with financing, capital, venture capital acquisition, and sometimes dealing with areas of employment or HR management, these types of things. This is a daily core service, and one of the most important things that economic development does. Destination marketing and visitor services. So in one side is the external side of what we do in various geographic markets, local, island, and in some cases as far as Western Canada and internationally, with the fulfillment piece being the visitor services side. So that is handled by our staff team at the visitor center. And the process of destination marketing visitor services is governed completely by or inputted to through a series of committees that we have within industry. Those committees meet very frequently throughout the course of the year and spend quite a bit of volunteer time in guiding the plans and direction for marketing and visitor services. And then sector-based development is a third area of focus that we engage with. Generally speaking, we are looking at supporting either through advocacy, through international marketing, or through trade development, the growth of the key sectors in the Comox Valley. So kind of three areas that we work on. The in the third area, or the third bullet there, you note that I've included the food and beverage industry. It is the primary sector that we focus on in regards to sector development. There are certainly other sectors that we do focus on, the emerging tech sector. Courtney's asked us to explore some medical services. And so there are other sectors that we do focus on. That's the primary one. Could just be the way I'm pressing it. Wireless.
Batteries.
There we go. It takes 4 clicks. Unless Martin get that.
Pushing it outside, John, get pushed down on it.
Push down, okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty much done after this slide.
Next.
In regards to aligning, we do meet regularly or throughout the year off and on with staff. I try and liaise as much as possible with the CAO. And we do take an effort in the 2016 plan and our previous plans to align to the town's strategic priorities. In this case, we've highlighted a couple areas where there's good overlap between the plans, and a couple of key items that you're going to hear about from the rest of the staff in regards to specific 2016 progress. So I think we'll move to Lara on the tourism side, and then Jeff will come up, or Jeff's now, and then Lara, and then Brent will speak a little bit about what he's up to.
Thank you, John. And thank you, Council and your Worship and staff for having us here today. My name is Jeff Crawford, and I am your business development guy at the Economic Development Society. Yeah, there you go. I'm going to just briefly go through a few highlights of the items that have kind of fallen under my umbrella for the first quarter here. Big component of work that we've been doing at the office has been our employment industrial lands-based foreign direct investment strategy for the Comox Valley. We've wrapped up a lot of outreach activity during the first quarter, and part of this report is with regards to that vacant land analysis, inventory, and supply, which the report looks outward 30 years to 2045, and looking out at that time frame, the analysis showed we're on a deficit of about 300 to 430 acres of industrial land. Tying that into the foreign direct investment part of the report, which looks at sector targeting. No huge surprises that aquaculture, agriculture, tourism, some of our key sectors that we already work in, are highlighted as priorities going forward as well. But related to Comox specifically, we identify opportunities working on the employment lands adjacent to the Comox Airport for positioning aquaculture and fishing operations for future export and market development opportunities. Small business support is a big part of what we do at Economic Development. On top of working every day with entrepreneurs and existing businesses through various business issues, some of the highlights of some of the larger items we've done in the first quarter would be our market development workshop we hosted with the Ministry of International Trade March 10th. We were very fortunate to get this with the Bank of China as well as Advantage BC in front of our local exporters and export-ready companies to talk about market development and some of the tools that are available in our province to make them more competitive when doing business with China. Also, partnership development, very important, and we've been very fortunate to work closely with the BIA. We have an MOU with them here in Comox, as well as with the Comox Valley Chamber of Commerce on joint activities, as well as professional development, capacity development. And last but not least, our trade show, investment, and market development activities are listed here. And a highlight here would be, for me specifically, was with regards to the Islands Agriculture Show, where we were fortunate to partner up with Comox Valley Exhibition Society, as well as the Comox Valley Farmers Institute on trade show space with that show and profiling products and opportunities for agri-tech development in our area. We also moderated a session on craft brewing and how the farmers can engage and get more involved with the supply chain development in that sector. And I'm going to pass it over to Lara.
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Lara Greasley. I am the Manager of Marketing and Communications at the office. I'm pleased to speak to you about the Destination BC Cooperative Grant Program that we've submitted. I think you're aware of it. I wanted just to give you a quick update on that. Just for a recap, we sent an application in for a very aggressive marketing campaign for 4 different campaigns for 2016-2017 year, and were awarded in principle $175,000, which is required to be matched by our office and our partners in order with which to get that money for our $350,000 campaign. And that funding is allocated across the BC Shellfish and Seafood Festival, which is in June, an outdoor adventure campaign, which is in the fall and spring of 2017, two-wheel bike festival campaign, and Winter Jam Festival campaign. So these are significant multimedia destination marketing campaigns that are obviously derived to attract more visitors to the region. We've posted RFP for assistance on the various marketing campaign components and received 26 proposals for that. It was posted to BC Bid, and I've gone through an evaluation matrix on those proponents and just made some recommendations to our board last night. So very, very exciting opportunity here, and it goes without saying it's the largest destination marketing grant that the region has ever received in its history. It's a new program being offered through Destination BC, and we're very, very excited about it. Brent?
Please click me forward.
Yes.
I might have to do that to one slide. We'll see if it works. Hi everybody, my name is Brent Curtin. I'm the Destination Marketing and Tourism Manager at Seabeds. And yeah, the first thing that we have underway, I think we actually skipped ahead.
You did skip one.
Did I skip it? Did I even hit it? Let's go back.
Get John to put it back.
Oh, look at I was able to move on backwards. So one of the things that we're working on from a tourism perspective, a big thing for this summer is we've got a whole number of themed sector guides that kind of look after our strongest tourism components. So that includes outdoor adventure. We have one for food and beverage, which is called Dine, Drink, and Savor. And then we have an arts, culture, heritage. And then one that's very applicable to the town of Comox is the marine adventure sector guide. So what that does is it features local businesses that are down at the marina. So you have Compass Adventures, Comox Harbor Charters, and Pacific Pro Dive, among others. And then the Comox by the Sea, so obviously the Comox BIA is involved in that one as well. So huge promotion of the local marina, the beaches, obviously coming through Comox to have access to the water. And these tools are going to be used throughout the summer for not only counseling for our visitor info center staff, but it's also a great intercept tool that we'll have at ferry locations, different visitor info centers around the island and also the lower mainland. And it also helps obviously promote the booking. It's a great sales tool for booking local activity operators. And then next is one that you've probably heard of quite frequently. It's the BC Shellfish and Seafood Festival. So we've been making a lot of strides in increasing and expanding that event for 2016. It's already a great event. It's one of our top signature events, obviously. And the planning is well underway. We're right now trying to solicit additional events for 2016, looking for developing new partnerships and also sponsorship solicitation. So we've had a lot of success so far. Obviously, we've got a couple months to go, and we hope to finalize all those things over the next 3 to 6 weeks, and then the marketing takes effect proper over the next month. A big component of that is the BC Seafood Expo, which is in its second year. And I should note that the BC Shellfish and Seafood Festival is actually in its 10th year. It's its 10th anniversary this year. But the BC Seafood Expo, that happens on the 9th and 10th of June, and that's a strong focus on the aquaculture sector with a conference that's going to be held at the Best Western, and we bring people from all over North America and some international clientele and media as well to that event. And then locally, we're looking at expanding 2 returning Comox events. Obviously, the Comox by the Sea celebration, which happens at the Filberg Lodge, that happens on June 18th. And then last year, we did a kickoff event with Rob from the Wharf. So the Comox Harbor Authority is looking to do a wild fisheries event and looking to expand upon that event for 2016. So we're going to help them try and make that succeed, make it bigger and better. So that's a quick flash of what we're doing on the tourism side. Great. Would you like to drive the bus?
We'll just leave that one up there.
Okay.
So Small business, a few projects, most of it's in the planning documents that you've received and the quarterly reports that you've received. A few key projects highlighted around small business support, a few key projects and festivals, events, marketing efforts around the destination marketing, visitor services, fulfillment side, and certainly some discussion around some of our sectors in regards to agriculture and some of the tech development in the first quarter and looking into the second. So thank you very much for having us, and we're here for a few minutes to answer questions.
Thank you, John and staff. Questions from members of the council? Go ahead.
I was waiting.
No, I was just going to ask John about some of the downtown Comox. We've had our program in place now for a couple of years, and it kind of got off to a slow start, our incentives program, but there seems to be a lot of stuff cooking, and I know your office has been instrumental in some of the things that are going on. Could you just kind of give us a little overview of some of the things you hear that are going on out there and what your role has been in sort of promoting that?
There's incredible discussions in the community and outside of the community in regards to the town and the various projects. Council is very familiar with all of them. In our opinion, from what we're hearing and what we see ourselves at Economic Development, there's an incredible vibrancy and sense of opportunity here. And I think you're seeing that in your planning reports from new developments and discussions that are occurring. Over the last little while, we've done some work with marina ownership to look at some of the plans there and spent some time providing some lead generation efforts to the listing agents for the lower land parcel to Harbour Centre. We have worked with them on the Harbour Centre facility and with the new ownership. Had a couple of meetings there. I'm not certain if council's had the opportunity to meet yet with the new ownership group, but nice family from Alberta that has purchased that particular building. And then we've been doing some work over the last while, I would say, in regards to supporting planning and their discussions that they've had with a potential purchaser for Comox Mall. And then in our own sense, our own department, if you will, a set of responsibilities working on that project in regards to supporting trade data and introductions locally and other basic information around the community that proponents needed to complete that. So a couple of key projects, but there's certainly lots going on, lots I think due to the vision and to the steps that the town has taken in regards to that incentive program and some of the policy development that's gone on here.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor.
First, I have to say thank you very much. Great having you here and hearing your very promising words. And also, thank you very much for the information that we received on the agenda. It was nice to be able to take the time to concentrate on your words and the actual effort you're putting into our community. And although this may sound a little bit, when I read it all and I sat back and digested it, it sort of seems to me like seabeds is like I guess I could say the power behind the throne. Because as I saw everything that's happening, economic development is driving it here, there, and everywhere. And we're seeing benefits. More and more people are looking at the good things that are happening through seabeds. But there's always a but. There's a lot of people that still don't know just exactly what seabeds are all about. And I was wondering, do those people who benefit from seabed services, do they have an opportunity at any time to say, wow, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have been able to do it?
They do have the opportunity. We do annual feedback surveys with our clients. The last major one was done about 2 years ago, I would say, Jeff, was about 2 years ago, and we're planning one for this fall. So we do reach out generally in an annual basis to our clients for feedback and suggestions on either direction in improvements or direction in planning items. So that does happen. So yes, they do get the opportunity. I've always said to the issue of success that the companies that are making investments in the community small businesses that are developing here or entrepreneurs that are attempting to start up, the success is theirs. And I regularly get told that's great, but we should talk about economic development successes as well. And I think it's just important to note that our purpose is to facilitate and support and provide supports to small business startups in the community, to those looking to invest in the tourism industry, to bring together a diverse group of companies that collectively market. Our purpose is to provide partnerships on training with people at North Island College, and that's the work we do. So I think we do a great job doing it, and hopefully through the reporting process to council, you can take the time to review the material, to question the material, ask information, and we can continue to keep that feedback and kind of feedback loop, if you will, working well.
Doing a good job, thank you.
Councillor Weiss?
It isn't a question, I just want to say thank you. And I also wanted to thank you for filling out the UBCM survey on economic development, so that picture of what it's like in BC is more complete. So,
Yeah, we did. We did a couple of them, no problem. Yeah.
Councillor McKinnon, you have the floor if you wish.
You have ESP, Your Worship. Just to follow up on what Councillor Grant said, is that I'm not sure that a lot of people are aware of your open door policy about coming in to find out more about your organization, and not just for startup businesses or whatever, but that has always been available to people in the community, and maybe that needs to be known a little bit more.
Certainly. Yeah, no, absolutely, and we can always promote those types of things, and that's definitely something that we see regularly, companies coming in and reaching out to us via website or getting in touch with us through referrals, so absolutely.
All right, any further? Go ahead.
I wrote down fixed wing aircraft before, and I'm a little bit out of the loop on that. Have you got an update on what's going on with our fixed wing?
I think I mentioned that the bids had closed last time I was at council, so it's in progress with respect to review. The companies are going through mandatory aircraft testing with the federal government and procurement team. This is occurring on site. They have, I think, completed most of the on-site evaluations. We're staying, as it sits today, all we're doing is monitoring that process. We are working with a couple of the proponents in the event that they wish to do some further work here, probably about talking to the community or setting up a type of event for open house type thing for the community to learn more about who they are and what they do. So a little bit of work there, but not an awful lot. We're waiting to see what the federal government does.
Perfect. Thanks.
All right. Another question I have is, who is my competition in this year's edition of the oyster shucking competition?
I don't know,
I'm undefeated.
but it's not me. That's
You use the upload, that's
All right, I'll wait the word on that.
okay.
Thank you, John and staff, for your very thorough presentation.
Thanks very much.
All right, next we will have a presentation from John Bowman, President of North Island College. Welcome. Also regarding their future strategic plan.
Thank you, Mayor Ives, members of the council. Really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you briefly about North Island College. In the short time that I have, I'd like to provide a brief overview of some of the college's key priorities and a few of our goals for the future. I provided you with a hard copy, which replaces there a copy of our plan. I'm happy I'm not going to be using the slide projector, but feel free to flip through it as I speak. Last year, 2015, the college spent a good deal of time and effort on reviewing our previous strategic plan and consulting with our communities on our revised set of priorities and goals. And I have to say at the outset that I'm very pleased. It's a comprehensive and ambitious agenda for the future, but I'm particularly pleased by the clarity and focus that we think the way the plan has been articulated provides direction for us, both here in the Comox Valley and around the region. Having said that, though, I think it's also fair to say that there's a lot in our plan that isn't really brand new, and that makes sense, frankly, because the needs for post-secondary education and training on the North Island haven't changed dramatically in the 5 years since the last plan was developed. What is new and different, though, is how some of the priorities are articulated, the level that they are being addressed, and also the goals that we've identified to support advancing them and moving them forward. It's also important, I think, for you to know that on an annual basis, we will be developing specific plans at the campus and department level to advance the college-wide plan and our long-term priorities. And of course, we'll also be reporting annually to the Board of Governors, the provincial government, and to all of you, our communities and stakeholders, on the performance that we're achieving relative to those plans and priorities. If you look at pages 8 and 9 in the document, you'll see a diagram or a graphic that presents the 9 strategic priorities that we've identified. And you may think, wow, 9, that's a big number. It is. But frankly, as the old Ford slogan used to say, at NIC, job 1 is student experiences and success. And I think we're really doing very well on that front. So that is essentially the mission-critical priority for the college, student success and experiences. Our other 8 priorities are divided into 4, which are really about what we do, providing access to learning and services across the region, access both in terms of geography, but also in terms of affordability and the ability for people to enroll in programs regardless of what their prior educational experiences are. We can really have something for everyone, and we can help people achieve their goals wherever they're starting from. Programming, clearly, that's at the core of what we do. Having responsive and relevant curriculum that is high quality is a key priority, and we strive for that every day. Aboriginal education and indigenization. The North Island includes a large Aboriginal population, one of the largest in British Columbia, and helping Aboriginal communities and Aboriginal learners achieve their individual goals and community goals is important. And lastly, in terms of what we do, international education and internationalization, that's a tongue twister, has been a priority and will continue to be a major focus for us going forward. Our other 4 priorities are about how we support and make those others possible. So clearly, resources and investment and sustainability is important. We are a people-based organization. We're people-intensive, so a focus on our human resources, the organization and culture of the college is going to be a key theme for us going forward, as will be active connections to our communities. So we've established a number of goals related to being connected and working in partnership. And lastly, we think we have some work to do around the college identity and brand, particularly in relation to some of our other campuses, not so much here in the Comox Valley, but in our smaller communities. We need to elevate the perception of the college significantly. So in the time I have this evening, I don't plan to speak at length about those priorities and the 43 related goals. I thought I would just touch on a couple that might be particularly relevant and of interest here in the Comox Valley. With respect to high quality and relevant programs, one of the things that we do very, very well at the college is develop partnerships and program pathways with other post-secondary institutions. So our relationships with Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo and the University of Victoria are particularly important. Students can start here and be guaranteed the opportunities to complete their degree programs in both VIU and UVic. And similarly, our relationships with high schools is extremely important. We have a number of existing dual credit programs whereby high school kids start a college program while they're still in grade 11 or 12 and graduate with both their high school diploma as well as a college certificate. That really gives them a leg up on their career development. We have this year more than 60, that's 60 programs across the college leading to a degree, diploma, or certificate. And this June, when we hold our graduation ceremonies, we expect to award approximately 600 students across the North Island with those credentials. So it's a substantial impact on the North Island in terms of those graduations. I mentioned Aboriginal education. This is a huge issue, as I mentioned, and we have decided to focus on and enshrine the National Indigenous Education Protocol commitments as our goals for the next 5 years. And in particular, we're attentive to enhancing Indigenous-centered services, learning environments, and the spaces that we have that support Aboriginal students at each of our communities. I mentioned international education. We have over 300 international students from 30 countries currently studying this year in the Comox Valley. And our goals include expanding international education to other campuses and communities. I wouldn't say that we have reached saturation yet in the Comox Valley, but the limits to growth are certainly starting to be felt. So building capacity both here and around the region to enable more international students to come and study and learn on the North Island is going to be a priority. Relationships, collaboration, I was pleased to hear what John Watson had to say about partnerships and working collaboration, because it's so true. Virtually everything we do at NIC involves working with another organization or a partner, whether it be business or a public sector organization. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us to work more closely with secondary schools and teachers, and so we're very focused on developing those relationships in the near term. In closing, I really just want to leave you with one core message, that your college, North Island College, is doing very well. And don't just take my word for it, we have the data to back it up. Annually, we survey graduates of the college, as do all other colleges, and I can tell you that satisfaction rates are 90 to 95% across all programs. And the achievement of outcomes, their desired goals, whether those be employment or transition to other institutions for further learning, are also very high. So I think it's fair to say that as a relatively small community college, I think we're the 5th smallest of all post-secondary institutions in British Columbia. We really do punch above our weight, and we're achieving great things for the citizens of the North Island, and we look forward to doing much more in the future as we move forward with the implementation of Plan 2020. I'd be happy now to answer any questions you might have about the college's activities here or around the region.
Members of Council, questions? Go ahead, Councillor Price.
Thank you for the presentation, and very neat book.
Neat is good. I like neat.
And both our children had access to the college. My daughter did part of her business degree, and my son was at the trade school. And I just wonder, what sort of percentages of local kids use the campus in the area?
That's a great question. We've actually seen an increase in direct entrance from high schools. So the provincial ministry tracks students leaving high school where they go on to post-secondary education. And not all students graduate and then go on to post-secondary. But of those who graduate and then do make a direct transition across the North Island, 6 out of 10, 60% of those high school grads are choosing North Island to come to first. Many go on to other institutions afterwards. But we're happy and we'd like to see that market share increase. We don't have data on the general population, but we know that 90% of our students are local, from Vancouver Island, a relatively small proportion from other places, other parts of British Columbia. That's domestic students, not counting the international students, of course. But we are principally mandated to serve the North Island region and the communities that are here, and so it's disproportionate. A high percentage of our students are local. I should just mention also, today was an important day for the Canadian college and university system. You may have heard that the federal government announced a $2 billion investment in college and university infrastructure over the next 3 years. During the last economic downturn in 2009, the previous government had a similar infrastructure program. That actually led to the construction of our new trades building here in the Comox Valley. And so we're hopeful that we might see a similar investment coming out of this new infrastructure program thanks to the federal government. It's a 50-50 cost-shared program with the province. And we have 2 projects here in the Comox Valley that we'd like to see advanced. One is the construction of a new student residence and a new teaching and learning building that would replace the 14 or so portable ADCO trailer buildings that we're still utilizing for a good deal of activity.
All right. Councillor McKenna.
Yes, John, thanks for the presentation. I have a question about international education, and certainly I'm a supporter and understand the value of that, least of which for a community, the financial input of international students coming here. But when you get asked, or I get asked the question sometimes, people don't see the value and need to be explained the value of internationalization.
Yeah.
Can you just, how do you answer that to people that ask that question, the value to communities of having international?
That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. Actually, a few years ago, in partnership with CVEDS, the college did an economic impact study. And at that time, I think we had about half the students we have now. And it was a multi-million-dollar impact on the Comox Valley of having those students here with us for various periods of time. What's not often recognized is the value of having students from 30 different countries who bring with them their cultural traditions and perspectives on life and the world. Having those students at the campus interacting with Canadian students, learning together and sharing their experiences, that's a very beneficial benefit. We live in an increasingly small, globalized world, and it enriches the learning opportunities for Canadian students having our international visitors. There is certainly a financial benefit to the college. I think there's a misconception oftentimes that people sometimes think, well, those international students, they're taking seats that would otherwise be occupied by Canadian students. That is absolutely not true. International students pay the full cost of their programs. Typically, the tuition is 3 to 4 times what Canadian students pay. And in fact, the net revenue beyond what the programs cost to deliver is subsidizing additional offerings for Canadian students, and it helps us balance our budget. It's about a $3 million budget for international education this year at the college, which is not huge, but it has grown, as I said, dramatically, and we think it will continue to grow, hopefully, at a sustainable rate. So, intercultural development, economic benefits for the community, learning, and we also aspire and are sending Canadian students from the Valley away to international destinations to learn and study, and we want to do more of that. So there's a whole range of benefits, I would say, in response to your question.
Thank you.
Right. You haven't touched on it in your presentation, but it's certainly in your material here on page 31, the funding challenge. So what efforts have you been making with, I assume, the provincial government at this point to the Ministry of Advanced Education to pursue those arguments around increased funding levels?
Thank you for asking that question. We continuously remind the provincial government that there isn't an equitable formula or system for allocating funding across the province. So we often cite the per capita inequity, which you'll see in the back of one of our charts in the document. If North Island College were funded at the same level as the average just for rural colleges, we'd have another $12 million annually to spend on programs and services. So we are the least well-resourced of the province's community colleges. We're doing really well on those limited resources, but we are seeking the provincial government to recognize in the future that a one-size-fits-all process to funding, it's not fair, and it disadvantages the citizens of our region, and we don't have the same level of access to programs and services that exist in other communities. So we think it's timely to bring this to the attention of leaders such as yourselves, particularly as we, a year and a bit from now, will be into a provincial election campaign. I'd be very interested in following up with you and other councils around the region in the lead up to the Union of BC Municipalities Conference next September, I guess it will be, if perhaps we can advance a consistent message to the provincial government around not only this region, but rural colleges generally, and the benefits that we have in terms of economic development and community sustainability for rural areas. So that would be a future conversation.
All right. Thank you for that. If we wanted to put any forward, any kind of resolution, then we'd actually need to do that within the next couple of months to get on the agenda. Councillor Price is involved with the ABICC, which is conferencing this weekend, but Massachusetts also on the UBCM board, so there might be a good approach there. Great. All right, thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, yeah, great presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to excuse myself.
All right, next delegation is Harry Panger and Jody McDonald here to talk to us about Vital Signs, Comox Valley 2016. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Pleased to present a program, a new program of the Comox Valley Community Foundation. You're all aware of the foundation, of course. It's been Well, it's been very vital. In the last, really growing in the last few years. The Comox Valley Community Foundation is one of 191 community foundations in Canada. And the umbrella organization in Canada is called naturally Community Foundations of Canada. We are embarking on a program that is new for us in the Comox Valley, but is not new across Canada. The program is called Vital Signs, and the program is intended to really be a kind of check-up on the quality of life or vitality of the community as a whole. And what we're going to be doing is developing a program with, that's not the clicker. Go ahead, just, you can go with it. With, we're going to be developing a number of ways of measuring vitality in the program. You can go back. In using tools that are measurable and sustainable over time. At the moment, about 65 communities are doing this. Last year, Vancouver, Victoria, and Port Alberni, Clackwood Biosphere, which is a community foundation, and Powell River all did participate in this program. This year, Campbell River will also be doing its first Vital Signs. They just confirmed that very recently. We're in the process of already, we've been in this program for about 2 months already, and there's about 6 months to go. Now, this is a program of the community, Comox Valley Community Foundation, but it's in partnership with the United Way. We're both putting in a chunk of money. Also, you may be aware that several years ago, I think 2014, the Comox Valley Social Planning Society did a report on the quality of life. Very thick report, very detailed report. What we're going to be doing is using some of that information, plus the information we gather from a variety of sources, to build a report. And the reports look something, these are some sample reports. Why don't we just pass them around and you can look at them. We're going to take them back at the end, however. We only have one copy. And we're in the community engagement piece, and we're going to be passing these copies around to lots of agencies, all local governments, social service sector, the nonprofit sector, and so on, in the community to help support the development of this report. In this report, although we call it a periodic checkup, we're going to be doing it over a period of years, and we have a plan to do it every couple of years with community dialogue in between those years. We're attempting to focus really on quality of life. So we are going to be measuring all kinds of things. And well, here. Did I go? Yeah, that's checking there. Oh, there we are. Oh, here are some sample reports. These reports are typically of the order of 24 pages. Some are much more detailed. Here are a few. Nanaimo did one. Has done one for. I think they've done a couple already, and they're I think on their third. So the look of these reports will be different, and these reports will be customizable, are customized for each community foundation, and focus on the areas that the local community wants to focus on. So our issues that we're going to be focusing on are these, a whole range, 10 of them. The 10th. Sometimes seniors or youth are highlighted separately, but we're going to be building that in through all aspects. Seniors issues is a topic that comes up, of course, in this community extensively. So we're going to be engaging in getting data from a variety of sources to support the development of what we call indicators in each of these areas. And we'll be producing a report with 6 to 10 indicators for each of these items. we're in the process of doing that now. Actually, today's Wednesday.
In 2 days.
2 days' time, we'll be in this room working all day, developing indicators with an organization, the social planning organization out of Vancouver, which has done a number of these reports for other municipalities, and they're driving this process for us. With me is Jody McDonald. Jody is with the United Way, but she is our local project manager. I'm just the board person, sort of responsible for this, but she's the brains in this project and doing a fabulous job. We have a number of stages of this. We're working in the first 2 stages. So talking to you is part of our community engagement. We're going to be doing indicator selection, and of course, if any of you have great ideas about things that we should be measuring, let us know, because we'll be coming back to you to get data. We're going to be doing also a survey of what citizens think about being part of this community. And there are all kinds of questions. We haven't prepared the survey yet, but we're guided very much by what's been done in other communities, driven by really the expertise in the Community Foundations of Canada. In October, we'll be launching this report, the first week in October. So and that is a date that is selected for Vital Signs reports launches across Canada. So it'll be a big event. And then the Vital Conversations is a piece that follows the report, between one report and the next report. So we're working through the first 2 stages, and we'll get this report done in 6 months. The report is, we think it's nice to read. The report is nice and easy to read. As you can see, we're not going to be measuring too many things. We're not going to do a deep dive on any particular topic, because ours is more of a broad brush to identify key areas, key strengths and weaknesses, or potential opportunities for. We think it'll be useful for organizations like the Community Foundation setting its priorities and where it should be, how it should be targeting its money. For instance, the Rotary clubs also fund lots of organizations, and it can also help them identify local needs, or identify areas in which they would like to focus their resources. It's interesting that we have a report from Port Alberni that in Port Alberni last year, they did their first Vital Signs, and as a result of data collecting that Vital Signs, they were able to apply for grants from higher levels of funding to support an identified need, which I believe was a giant problem. And they were able to get a grant of several $100,000 in order to, using the data that actually was collected. Right? So they could just present this report and use this. It's also useful for the nonprofits and the charitable sector to actually help make a case for their, to make grant applications to even the Community Foundation or other organizations, and say, we've identified that we need more support in a particular area, that this report has done it, and we're serving that sector. Will you be supporting local grants in that area? So it's, we think it's, there are lots of audiences for this report, and that's been demonstrated in other communities. Let's see. It will work at some point. That's the 4th clip. There you go. Now, our ask of you is pretty simple. We're not asking you for money. We're going to be, we have sponsors, a number of sponsors in the process of development. We have funds from the Community Foundation, we have funds from the United Way, and we're working with a number of other, we're now working with a number of other potential sponsors, and we'll be able to announce that soon, hopefully. But we may be coming to you as the town for data. And it's typically not data that you don't collect already. It's data that you probably have. And the key is really to be able to, for us to be able to access that data through your staff. And what we do is ask you to encourage your staff supporters to support this project when we request it. We don't believe that the demands will be very high. For instance, we would like to talk to recreation about the level of recreational activity and uses of resources. That would be one example, and we're doing that authority as well, etc. So that's our story. We thank you. If you're interested in finding out more about Vital Signs, Vital Signs Canada website is right here, so you can see all kinds of reports there from all other municipalities that have done a Vital Signs report. Jody, anything to add to that?
No,
I'm
that's
sure
great.
Jody will be able to answer all your questions. Questions for her?
Go ahead, Councillor.
So one, you referred to this community, when you say that, are you thinking of Comox or Comox?
Oh, I'm sorry, the Comox Valley Community Foundation serves the entire valley.
So we.
It's the entire school district 71. We'll also be going to Courtney Council, etc.
Right.
All the local governments, including the Comox First Nations as well. So we're including everyone. Thanks.
Fair enough. No
I should have clarified that
problem.
earlier.
No trouble.
Other questions, Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, I think I can see some of the value of this community snapshot of data, and you told us, just to reiterate, and make sure I heard it correctly, there's no cost associated with this.
We're not asking you for money.
But there is the opportunity that this information could be used. You mentioned that it can help create a community focus for a local need, and that makes sense to me. It also, in my mind, seems to support engagement of citizens into an ownership not just of goals, but of solutions too. And quite often we as politicians are accused of not engaging our citizens enough for this. So if there's no cost to the town of Comox, certainly the goals and other communities on the islands have looked to use this data. I support your work in this, and particularly encourage it.
Let me just respond to the community engagement piece, because I may have mentioned, I did not mention how we were going to distribute this. We will produce this nice document, but we'll also be producing it on the web, and we hope to produce a version of this document that will go in the newspapers here as a supplement that every family can read. Now, that's not done in many municipalities. Toronto does it. One other community foundation I know in Ontario does it. We're working with the ECHO, and they're one of our big sponsors in terms of publicity and advertising and all of that stuff, as well as distribution. So that's all in place. And so we expect to get something in the hands of every household in the entire region.
So,
It's the record, but.
Did I say the record? Did I say the record?
Yeah.
Oh! Well, it's all same owner up there.
Same thing now.
Councillor Price.
And great, and thank you for the presentation. And so you're proposing, are you, every few years to do another Vital Signs in the same way the Comox Valley Social Planning Society over the years, their quality of life report was updated, and so you can do comparisons. You can see, are we heading in a good direction?
The Social Planning Council report feeds this report. So they're fully engaged with this report, fully engaged in development of this report, which is at a different level of detail than the Social Planning Council report. So yeah, they're part of this process. They're a key partner. So we will be doing this where our plan is to do it every second year. Okay. That's the plan.
And the key that Harry said is the replicability, and that we want high quality data that's replicable. So in 2 years we can actually pick those same indicators and see if we're making progress. So that is key.
In my field, you say if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So what we're going to do is try to measure it.
So how are these letter grades assigned? I mean,
We're not doing that here.
That's not happening here.
Because it always, when I've read these in the past, it always puzzled me. Like, it's really hard to get an A, which is probably a good idea. But, you look at some of these letter grades and you go, like, from this one in Victoria in 2011, just total crime rate down, they only got a C+ for that. I mean, that
Those
should
were
be.
public perceptions, and
Yeah, I
so,
mean,
but
so-
it wasn't, it's not clear that those are public perceptions. So I think a lot of people got hung up on the grades.
Yeah.
So we thought in this community, let's not do the grades.
Ours
let's
is
just-
basically factual.
Yeah.
Fines, because that
Things
adds
that
a
you cannot
subjective
argue with.
element to it, which. I don't
We
think
will be
is
doing, we'll be reporting on what citizens think as a whole,
Yeah.
based on the surveys. But we're not going to be grading in any way, passing judgments, because judgments require some development, some sort of normative scale, and we're not prepared to do that.
Okay, good to hear. All right, anything further? Seeing none, thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
You're holding on to
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll have
And
to
we'll
take
collect
those back.
them
Thank
again,
you.
We got many
Sorry,
more
thank you.
presentations to do.
They're all available on bite-sized pens. Thank you.
We're going to be back in high school getting grades We have one more delegation, perhaps here before the public hearing at 6:30. Esther Stubbs is here regarding the development variance permit for the Pentecostal Church Community Garden. So I don't know if you're just here to answer any questions. It is coming up on the agenda later on. So you certainly can make a presentation. I think the staff report is relatively straightforward.
Yeah,
Just-
I think, and I've shopped as well, so I'm okay.
Okay, well, you can stay tuned. If we do have any questions, we can ask you when we get to that. We'll do meetings of minutes, or minutes of meetings, I should say. Regular council meeting of March 16th, minutes for approval.
Move approval?
Second.
Approval, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Committee of the whole meeting, minutes of March 23rd for receipt.
Move receipt?
Second.
Receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Planning report, the planning procedures bylaw to be forwarded to council for first, second, and third reading.
I'll move that.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. The public hearing, special council meeting of March 16th, minutes for approval.
Move.
Second.
Those in favor? Motion's carried. Manager report for receipt at page 21.
Move receipt.
Second.
Receipt then, all those in favor? Motion's carried. I believe staff will be bringing back to us the Marina Boardwalk development as early as next week for the committee of the whole. So there'll be further discussion on the budget and tender process there. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we heard briefly about the fixed wing. And organics, of course, is something that's been done regionally. Anything further on that? We'll move on then to meeting minutes for the regional district for receipt.
Move receipt.
Second.
And that is for the, we'll do them all, I assume. Hospital, district, solid waste, and two regional bargaining.
My intention was to move them all.
Okay. All those, it's moved and seconded. All those in favor? Motion's carried. And rise and report. This is just a notice that we did at our special in-camera meeting of March 16th. Rise on the package of information regarding the MacLean Trust was contained in that agenda, and that material is available upon request, but it's also been circulated through to the committee working on that issue.
I move the recommendation.
Well, it's already been done, we're just reporting that.
Okay.
And then Rob Avenue project update for the bid. So that is to receive the report.
I'll move receipt.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Staff are here reporting on the result of the tender. And it's over to CAO just to briefly reference the winner of that bid.
Thank you, Your Worship. So Waycor Holdings has been awarded the tender for Phase 1 work. The pre-construction work will begin probably late May, early June. Our crews are already on that street doing some of the work they need to do in terms of service connection, replacement, things like that. But the bulk of the work will be done once the kids are out of school, and then it'll be full on to get that project done. And we're pleased to see the tender results as they came in under the budget, and another example of getting our tender packages out early, and we seem to get positive tender results because of that, for the most part.
And if you can just maybe reference the open house timing for the public works project.
Yes, thank you. We are in the planning stage for the capital projects and other projects. Open house that we hold on an annual basis. We're looking at late April, early May for that event. We haven't set the date, but we're working on some of the information that we'll be putting together.
Questions, comments? All right, so at this juncture, we will adjourn to the public hearing. So then when we'll come back, we'll start dealing with the bylaws. So if you could move to your public hearing agenda, we will proceed with that. So first item would be adoption of the agenda for the public hearing.
Move. Second.
All those in favor? Carried. This is a public hearing related to a rezoning application for 1823 Bonavista Vista Avenue and Comox zoning amendment bylaw number 1833. That is in relation to a coach house project. So the public hearing is convened under the Local Government Act for the purpose of hearing representations by those people who believe their interests may be affected by the zoning bylaw amendment number 1833, which has received first and second reading but not yet passed third reading and been adopted. Notices of the public hearing have been published, and copies of the proposed bylaw and supporting documentation and any submissions to council have been available for inspection at Town Hall. And in order to ensure everyone a reasonable opportunity to be heard, there is a speakers list located at the desk of the clerk over there to my right, your left. And once you are called by myself as chair, you can present by beginning with your name and address and then make a presentation. Council is here to hear from you, and technical questions can be directed by myself to the staff as required. Everyone will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard, and no one should feel discouraged from or prevented from making their views heard. The application summary is, as I mentioned earlier, in brief, to amend the R1.1 single-family zone applicable to this lot at 1823 Bonavista Vista Avenue to allow coach house, as shown on the map. And that's essentially the subject matter of this public hearing. So the proposed bylaw is now open for discussion, and I will ask if there's any speakers on the list. Seeing no speakers on the list, then we'll proceed to close the public hearing. I would remind those present that legal consideration to prevent the members of council from considering representations made after the close of this public hearing. So I'm going to call 3 times for any further speakers on any of the matters contained in the proposed bylaw before closing this hearing. So for the first time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to make any further representation? There being no further speakers, I declare the public hearing closed. And just asking the staff now, I note that back on our regular agenda we have the bylaws, so we'll deal with that there.
Yes.
So we will entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Move. Second.
All those in favor? The public hearing is adjourned, and we're back to our section of the council agenda. Bylaws. So at page 47, we have the planning procedures bylaw amendment number 1828, for first, second, and third reading.
Move. Second.
Any discussion?
I just one quick question, and I think this is great. Has any thought been given if it was single family over a certain number of units to consultation, which maybe go over the layout?
Sorry, it's single family over a certain number of units. What do you mean?
Well, more than 10 or...
You're talking about a subdivision.
A subdivision, yes.
You can ask the planner to answer that.
No, the subdivisions are under the approving officer. So it's a separate statutory authority. And the approving officer always has the discretion at any time to ask for public input. Generally, that's not the case. It's following up the existing zone, and it's also then following up the existing subdivision officers.
Great, thank you. This is great. I just figured it came up and I read it.
Yeah, obviously, if the property isn't zoned single-family, it would have to go through a single-family zoning, so that would apply there. But you're talking about existing single-family zone land.
Or I mean, this process, as far as I can see it, sort of upfronts the public input, and the people often consider that the public hearing comes at a stage where everything is pretty much. It's hard to make changes because there's a lot of commitment and money to the plans that are put forward. So just a thought when I read it through.
Yeah, certainly that would apply for multifamily, residential, and mixed-use commercial. All right, so any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion is carried for second reading. And we'll deal with adoption. I will give you a couple this time. All right, so moving forward, we do have zoning bylaw enforcement, MTI provisions. Staff are looking for recommendation. Sorry, looking for first and second reading.
Make that motion?
Second?
Secondly, any questions?
I
Go ahead.
I just had one question, and I think this is great that it's much better to ticket than to take to court. I just wondered whether municipal ticketing could be applied to tree bylaw. Is there a legal constraint why that can't happen, or is that something we could do down the road?
Yes, it can apply to the tree bylaw.
Okay.
There is an upper fine limit established through MTI, and Shelley, what was that?
$1,000.
So $1,000 is the maximum.
Okay.
And it is something that we would consider when we do the new tree bylaw, which we're looking at for next year, is in the work plan. But if council was to direct us to add it to this one, we could update that as well.
Okay, because currently we've got a higher fine level up to than the 1,000.
Yes.
I mean, it would be interesting when Al Fraser gets back, just to have a report on that.
Sure.
Because tree protection bylaw, it's a lot longer process to get that on the table.
Okay, so at this point, you're asking for first and second reading, staff. Is it possible then to get the input from the Parks Director? We could always amend it at second reading, is that what you're saying?
No, I think that this issue stands alone because it's zoning bylaw. We'll ask him to consider the applicability of that with the tree protection bylaw that we have right now.
Okay, fair enough. Fine.
Thank you, that's great.
Councillor McKinnon?
Yes, if RCAO could just refresh council as to the appeal process, the protocols for appeal for ticketing in that regard.
Under the MTI, I would defer to Shelley, who's a little more familiar than I am in terms of enforcement measures.
So if someone were to receive an MTI, the process is they have 14 days to appeal the MTI ticket. If they do not appeal that ticket, then they are essentially deemed guilty of the ticket, and then it goes to the courts if it needs to be enforced. But there is that 14-day window for anybody who does receive an MTI ticket to appeal. And the first step in that process is to come forward to staff and discuss the matter with staff.
Yeah. And who is the appeal to? Like if it is appealed, doesn't it go to the court then?
If it's appealed, it depends, I guess, on the level of appeal. Within the 14 days, it comes to staff to appeal. If it's not appealed, then they are essentially deemed guilty, and then the matter would go to court if staff were to take it to court to obtain.
I'm talking, if somebody gets a ticket, appeals it, where does it go? It's got to go to court. I don't believe we're
An
part of it.
MTI ticket?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I would have to look that up. and get
That's
back
my
to you.
understanding, unless we're part of the bylaw adjudication system, which some municipalities are. We're not yet.
We're not yet, and we are looking at establishing that and working with the city to get that up and running, but we're not there.
You're saying if somebody doesn't appeal and doesn't pay the fine, then you have to enforce it.
Right.
So if it is appealed, there is a court process that I'm aware of.
Okay.
If you can't resolve it, sure.
I mean, they don't just go to the mayor and get into it.
Can't fix anything else.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. All right, so moved and seconded for first and second reading. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. And then waiver of the public hearing.
Motion to that?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. All right, so I believe that takes care of that for now. Yes. Development cost charges bylaw. So before we start passing motions here, I'm just going to ask the CEO or other staff members appropriate to explain what we're doing here.
I'll start. Council may recall that we gave the new DCC bylaw 3 readings back in December or January, at which time we forwarded on to the province for approval. And the process requires that the Inspector of Municipalities approves the bylaw prior to the town being able to adopt it. Through that review, the office found some issues with our bylaw they wanted us to change. And what we've provided to you earlier in the day in the thick package is a revised BCC report. So some numbers were amended to address the inclusion of the impact of secondary suites. And there's some shifting in values that occurs because of that. And that's summarized, I think, in the table in the back of your report. So in one case, you see the single-family BCC rise by $200, and multifamily comes down in some places. Those are the new rates. Keep in mind that we're still looking at a reduction, of approximately 40% in the single-family BCCs from what they were before, as well as a significant reduction in multifamily BCCs. There are also some process and technical language issues that are highlighted in the markup version of the bylaw that we've included in your package. And so what we've done is we've been working in concert with the office, the inspector's office, to ensure they're satisfied with this version that we're presenting to you tonight, which will lead to a faster approval process when it goes back to them, and then we can get it enforced sooner, because the development community is obviously waiting to take advantage of these reduced rates.
All right, thank you for that. Took 105 pages to tell us that.
In the interests of being completely transparent, as part of the requirement of the inspector municipalities to ensure that council receives and approves the report and the new bylaw.
At least you didn't print them all off, that's good.
I wish you would have.
All right, any questions on what we're doing here? Failing that, we should proceed then. My understanding is that we have to rescind second reading?
Third.
Third, sorry.
I'll move that we rescind third reading.
That's right. And then, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. And then we have to amend it as outlined in the planning report.
So I move the amendment.
Second.
Okay. And any further discussion on that? Are we good where we're at? Yep. Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried.
And then I would move third reading as amended.
Second.
Is that all good, CA?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Any further?
And if we can just get a motion that the revised Coors report, update technical report that was dated on today's date, be received.
Move.
Second.
All in in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried.
Yeah.
All right, so all that material's there, and that will then go now to the inspector and hopefully for relatively expedient approval.
Correct.
And then we'll come back to council for adoption, yes. And then once it's adopted, then those will apply to new developments that come forward for building permit or subdivision. All right, so thank you staff for bringing that back to us in a timely way, and we can finish it off soon. Now we're going to consider third reading of the matter that we had the public hearing on moments ago. So bylaw 1833 be given third reading.
I'll move that.
Second.
Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried.
I'll move adoption.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay, so that now brings us to new business. And page 69, we have staff report regarding properties at 1584, 1605, and 1635 Knight Road. We also have the owners here who are interested in this issue, of course. They're here perhaps to answer any questions that council may have as we go through this report. So rather than pass any motions at this point, I'll just ask the CAO or the appropriate staff member to give us an update on where we're at. You see the report here is perhaps the first time this council has seen this issue, so it might be useful to have that background.
This issue goes back a few years, I think initially commencing with bylaw enforcement complaint. Staff began looking into it and through whatever means it fell off our desk, I think is the best technical term to use. But it came back primarily through a complaint from the Ombudsman's office that we had not investigated the complaint thoroughly, so we had launched a new investigation or new review of the complaint, and through that process our research indicated that there are some issues outlined that Shelley outlined in her report dealing with the required agricultural buffer when you've got properties next to the ALR, as well as some uses that were not permitted in the zoning bylaw. We didn't find them permitted in the current as well as any past zoning bylaws. So we began with the enforcement action of asking for either compliance or getting an appropriate zoning amendment to bring the uses in line with the current zoning. And we've had, I would consider it to be lack of action since the time that we've brought this issue forward. And so we just brought it to council's attention at this stage to see if we can move it further along and more expedient.
All right.
I just have one question here. The recommendation here is to use municipal ticket information. Can we even do that? We've only given the first and second reading.
Well, yeah, obviously we're not going to be writing tickets tomorrow.
Okay.
We still have a process to go through to get the zoning bylaw amended to include the enforcement provisions. But this goes in. This would happen at some point. We're not looking for permission to enforce tickets tomorrow.
Okay.
We're just bringing it forward, and we're saying this is the next step that we'll have to go if we don't get compliance with what we've requested.
And was this a sort of a neighbor and neighbor?
That's how it started.
That's how it started?
Yeah.
Kind of brings back the old Spanky's fish and chip thing, doesn't it? Yeah, I know. It's unfortunate because our hands kind of get tied here, and we have bylaws that we have to enforce, and we can't not enforce them, and yet it just seems to me something that could be worked out in another way somehow. But
well, that's our intent and our hope, and with property owners being here, we still want to work it out with the property owners. the complexity with the zonings and sometimes it's, you look at the uses that are being discussed on the properties, and the important distinction is that there are properties involved and lot lines, and so setbacks are required and all those complexities. And although it looks like one site, you have to look at the fact that there are parcels involved, and trying to bring all of that into line with what the current zoning allows, or what perhaps the proposed zoning may allow.
So if I heard you correctly there, you're going to continue to work with the owners to try and bring this in compliance, and you're not going to be pursuing the tickets at this time? Although it's something that you could do.
Correct.
In the future, is that
correct?
Am I correct with that?
Yes.
So just for clarification, compliance looks like observing the setbacks, or does it look like a rezoning application, or a combination of those? The permitted use side?
Yes, you could bring the property in line with the existing zoning. Our interpretation is that the existing zoning does not permit some of the uses on the property, the outdoor storage, I can't recall all of them off the top of my head, as well as the requirement for an agricultural buffer. Those are just a couple of the things that can be done. So they can apply to council for a zoning amendment, which they can say, well, we just want to continue doing the uses that we want. So if they want to continue the uses as they are, where they are, then there are the setback requirements that also may be required to customize a certain zone for them. Or if they want to use an existing zone, then they have to meet those setback requirements and everything else that goes with it. So it's a mix of different approaches that can be used. And I think we've laid that out before. We're willing to discuss it again as to what the alternatives are.
Okay. Other questions? Councillor Cannon?
So I think I understand that. Under the auspices of the community charter, we have the ability, the town has the ability to municipal ticket. We're not going to be ticketing at this point because we still have some issues to clear up in regards to our bylaw.
Correct. We don't have the authority to enforce because the bylaw has not yet been amended to give us the MTI provisions.
In my brief notes on the issue, I have something written down here about some recent movement. Are we close to any resolution there, or how does the town gauge that? If you have two owners, this has been a long stemming issue, and is there some new information that leads us to be positive about the outcome here being resolved on its own, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Well, my understanding is that the approach the property owners were going to take was applying for a zoning amendment. And we still do not have a complete zoning amendment application. So that would be, I think, the first milestone that we need to realize, which is get the application so that we can begin the processing of it, and then bring it eventually to council for their consideration.
So would one option be to say, at council level, to say that any enforcement action be, I guess, postponed for a certain time period, allowing the landowner to submit that application? That, say, okay, you've got to do it by X, failing which you can go through the MTI process.
Absolutely.
And what would a reasonable time frame for that be? I guess I would be asking Martin.
Well, submitting the application is one thing, obviously the processing is another, but if it's submitted, then presumably that deals, or we purport to deal with the zoning issue. There's still the ALR issue, buffer issue, which wouldn't really be part of that.
Correct.
Go ahead, Blair.
4 months.
4 months.
4 months to complete.
4 months to process, but
The complete application, the status of the application at this point is we have prepared a customized checklist for the rezoning application. We have requested that the applicant undertake pre-application consultation with the community in terms of the surrounding property owners. We have submitted the documentation in terms of what notice has to be given. That usually will run about, that process, two-stage process will run about a month to 2 months. Then there's the application itself and the drawings.
That's why you're saying 4 months.
That's why I would say that if you wish to provide an ample amount of time in which to complete that and to submit the background documents and complete the application, 4 months would be.
If we said, say by the end of August, if it hadn't been submitted, then that would be when staff would be directed to perhaps proceed with enforcement. Does that sound reasonable? So that's one option. Just a question I have though about the LR buffer, because I'm not sure whose job is that? Is that our job as the town to enforce that, or is that the ALR?
The ALR buffer is essentially a vegetated cross-section of a certain size, so that is within our zoning bylaw. And what's happened in the past is, in some cases where there's existing vegetation or other means to provide that buffer, people have applied for a variance in terms of an alternative to meet that buffer standard. There's one buffer standard that we have in our bylaw, and that's coming from the ALR. There's different ways to sort of skin the cat. So that has been done in the past, and my understanding is that's what would be proposed at this time. That would require a cross-section of what's proposed to be an alternative, and then processing of that through a variance.
So both of those things could be presumably done in that same time frame?
Yes.
So what would a motion look like if we wanted to make that, to give the applicant to make a zoning amendment till August 31st, 2016? Is that a fair motion to make?
Yeah, I guess maybe to avoid it necessarily coming back to council, I would suggest that the motion be, the recommendation here is that staff be directed to proceed with enforcement action. We could say that staff be directed to proceed with enforcement action after August 31, 2016, if an application has not been
So the
submitted.
zoning amendment not be submitted. Okay, so I would make that motion.
Does that make sense to you? Good. Okay. So essentially, we wouldn't necessarily have to come back to council at that point.
Right.
All right. Any further discussion on that? Is everyone clear on that? All those in favor? Oh, so before we do that?
We just request that the words complete zoning application.
Yes. Okay, complete.
Fair enough. Take that as a friendly.
Does that work for you gentlemen here? For the time being? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, staff. Okay,
And
so,
that takes into account the agricultural land buffer too.
yes.
Yeah.
We'll package it. Okay, so we'll move on to the development variance permit application for the Pentecostal Church Community Garden. Recommendation is that the permit be issued.
I'll move that.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Yes, planting.
Yeah. Oh, that's not a garden, guys.
Take care of you.
It's not.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, moving on to the next item, which is the Parklet expansion, and that is regarding the Comox Grind addition of 1.7 meters.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
Any discussion? This is the highly successful Comox Grind outdoor patio area, and just a slight extension of that to increase the length to approximately 9 meters, including the bicycle rack and deck. Perfect.
Great, and still keep one car park space too. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yes. All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried. Councilor McKinnon, forgot to declare your conflict, because I've seen you in coffee. All right. So that's carried, good stuff. And last item is correspondence. This is from Councilor Price, in her capacity as liaison to Comox Archives and Museum. They are seeking a lot of support for their grant application.
Move receipt and we lend support.
Thank you, Dennis. Second. Okay, good.
Okay, any further discussion? It's obviously funding under the Canada 150 anniversary celebrations. So this would happen over the course of the next year. So a successful funding application. All right. Any further to add?
Just the museum has in the past done the boxes for the schools, and they're still, many years ago, and they're still being used. And this is a great partnership because it's a close partnership with School District 71. We have a retired person from School District 71 who's handling that site. And yeah, it will be, it's part of our mandate is to have outreach, and this it will be
excellent.
And there's all sorts of events to go with it, picnics and dress-ups and hands-on stuff. More to come.
Great, thanks. All right, all those in favor? Opposed, motion's carried. Provide voter support. Okay, no late items or other delegations, reports from members of the council. We'll go to Councilor McKinnon.
Yes, I was away out of the country, and I just report quickly on two things. I had the honor of attending the Singapore Council Chambers, and had a tour and learned and admired their system of council there. Secondly, I had a very interesting tour of their public civil defense museum, which included their history of their fire department and viewed their community safety education program that I would say almost rivals the town of Comox's fire department community education initiatives. And seriously, I think our fire department should be commended. The programs offered by Singapore are matched here and more so. And it made me very proud to be from the town of Comox. That concludes my report.
Welcome back. Councilor Price?
Yes, and so I attended the KFN Community Forum, which was the signing of the agreement with Courtney. I was at the official opening of the 102nd exhibit, and thank you to the Mayor for cutting the ribbon. We did have 2 regional district board meetings and finally passed the budget. And there was some discussion with the South Sewer project of Councillor Eric Erickson is sitting at the table because of his interest in Courtney's South Sewer going into it, and also Cumberland is there. And heavens, I've got too many little books here that you might be able to do better.
No, I'm leaving it to you.
Well, it was right in front of me. Can you read it before I left the room? Maybe, I could just come back to, because there was a couple of the highlights.
Sure. We'll move on to...
And I did attend the official opening of the Comox Legion Dart Tournament on Saturday morning. And brought the towns with me. They didn't ask me to throw a dart, but people from all over BC. Very busy.
We're usually good at catching those.
Yeah, that's I've caught a few of those lately.
Councilor Kennedy.
Yeah, we had a couple of weeks off from the regional board, so I haven't really had a lot to report, although I did have a meeting with Don McRae, Rod Nickel, and a variety of city Courtney councillors, and I'm not really 100% sure what the rationale behind it was, but they wanted to talk about more regionalized servicing, and there's lots of challenges there, I guess, and so that was the discussion. Just sort of went into what some of the challenges are with some of that kind of stuff, and really that's about all I've had to do for the last bit.
Okay, Councilor Marquette.
I too attended the KFN community. It was a very moving ceremony. And I thought we all danced rather well, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yes. Also, Shakeside. Shakeside is moving along quite nicely. We have 4 options to be presented on Friday that will perhaps narrow down just exactly where the committee would like to take it. Also, Councillor Swift and myself won't be able to attend on Friday, so Councillor Arnott will be taking her place. I too attended the 102nd Battalion exhibit. It was really impressive because I'm mostly, one, of course, we had an excellent MC and an excellent cutting of the ribbon. However, the way those people have put that very small space to such good use, that was a great display, wasn't it? I was very, very impressed with that. Also, I attended the youth training camp, the fire department's youth training camp. Now that too was an experience, all these great positive things that are happening. We arrived late in the day of the closing day, and just by looking at the faces of everybody there, you could tell what had happened. All of the firemen looked totally exhausted because they'd been trying to keep up to these kids for 3 days. And there were the parents, and buttons were bursting on their chests because, of course, they did so well under that great guidance. And then you see the kids. Some of the stories of the kids, it was very heartwarming. And they were so very proud of their accomplishments. And I'm so glad I went.
Councillor
I just, one point of interest that sometime soon, there is going to be a funding application going in from the regional district for a bike lane on Comox Road, so one step nearer. The delay in putting it in is the desire to have a separate bike lane, walking lane, rather than just a line by the road. And the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure have to change their policies to allow that before an application can go in to enable it. So, I mean, one day, it's been a long-term wish, one day, you never know. And just, it was interesting with the budget too, Courtney did bring up about the apportionment of solid waste. And there was a little bit of a fear that there was going to be some significant voting against the budget, and that potentially that the budget could have failed, which would have been...
that was the issue that they lost at the solid waste board.
Yes.
They brought it to your board.
Yes.
That's right.
And we told them that it was the improper board to bring it to, which it was, but...
First you know, 16.
Yeah. So, yes, that was I think the CAO had a moment's concern. What will we do tomorrow if this doesn't work? But yeah, I think that's it.
Okay. Many of those things I attended, I reference, or has been referenced, the Comox First Nation signing ceremony, the Archives and Museum exhibit. Also went on Saturday night down to Nanaimo for the Top 20 Under 40 dinner, which was held down there this year. 430 participants there in the Vancouver Nanaimo Convention Center, and well attended and well run, but a very late evening. 2 of the 100 nominees got into the top 20 from the Comox Valley. That is Jenny Peters from Rattan Plus, also involved with the BIA there in Courtney, and Matt Beckett, who is involved with the Young Professionals. So I was able to present to Matt his award, so that was a nice pleasure to do that. The climate leadership team had a teleconference meeting last week. The public commentary period for that is now closed, or will be closed, sorry, as of Friday. And we're sure that we're going to have another meeting in mid-April with the new Deputy Minister for Climate Change. So hopefully that'll happen, and I'll be able to report more on that later. And also a teleconference that I participated in, the RCMP Local Government Contract Management Committee through UBCM. I can tell you that many of those issues keep getting recycled every meeting. Many of them are cost driver issues. And really the focus of this meeting was to gather and summarize input from communities on the 5-year review of the 20-year contract, and it's hard to believe it's already 5 years coming up. And just a heads up for council members attending ABICC, there's a resolution there from the city of Courtenay on RCMP costs. I think it's the very first resolution, so there'll be some debate on that at ABICC. And then yesterday attended the quarterly CVEDS board meeting. Most of what was presented today was discussed, also some information on agricultural enhancement. And the AGM for CVEDS is coming up in June 23rd at the Holiday Inn in Courtenay. So put that on your calendar. You'll get an invite as well later on.
And just one other thing, I was just looking through my emails, not that I wasn't listening or anything. And we got an invite by the environmental health officer to a Comox Valley drinking water morning on April 21st at 9 p.m. And it might be something that the rest of council might be interested in coming and just.
Where's the location, Ken?
It's the Public Health Building at 961 England Avenue.
I think everyone's got it. It's been forwarded all.
Yeah, you'll get a forward, but just might be a really good thing so that you can get a little more up to speed on what's going on with the water supply and what we're doing.
All right.
It's a 9 a.m. start.
9 till noon.
And what date thing?
21st of April.
You'll have an email. I see that Lois forwarded that to everything. So
Yeah, she has. You'll get the email. But
just check your emails.
Yeah.
Thank you
Good
for
one
that.
to know about.
Okay, that's it for reports then. No other items other than perhaps any questions from the media that are here? No, or later maybe? No in-camera meeting and no members of the public left, so motion to adjourn would be in order. Favor? Meeting adjourned.